It's time for the Brouhaha Sports Show. Brouhaha Sports with award-winning sports writer Dale McKee and co-host Marshall Wood. Talking sports with the legends of the game and famous sports personalities. Brouhaha! Now to Marshall and Dale with tonight's guest.
Welcome to May, one and all, and welcome to the Brouhaha. My friend Dale McKee, how are you doing on this fine May day?
I'm doing real good on this cloudy morning Tuesday. I hope something happens the rest of the day with the weather.
You know you just said cloudy Tuesday morning, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
Is it cloudy? Is it cloudy?
It
morning?
It looks cloudy at this time.
Does anybody really know what time it is?
No, it's around 6 o'clock. Isn't it? I don't know if it's AM or PM.
Well, listen. Let's talk a little bit. I know we got some guests tonight. We're going to get to in a minute and some exciting stuff. But let's just do a quick recap. You know, we're going to be talking about the draft tonight, I think. Of course, you're the one that's going to direct that. But on your sideline view, you know, let's look at the college baseball situation for a minute. I know Southern's been doing real good. You know, they did lose, I think, a series to what the Rebels here recently.
Birmingham.
UAB just has a real way with Southern Mississippi. It seems like it's so many things. I don't know, but that's a hot button for me.
Yeah, well, you know, UAB's been a force in every sport over there ever since they kind of came into existence, you know. So, you know, they are very competitive, but, you know, Southern didn't score a lot of runs this weekend.
Yeah.
I saw one of the quotes that Coach Barry down at Southern, who became the all-time winningest coach in USM baseball history. Congratulations to him. They kept popping the ball up. You know, and they lost like 3-2 one day, but they just kept popping the ball up. And, you know, in baseball, the pop-up's probably the easiest thing to catch, you know. Yeah. So, you know, you got to put the ball in play. And
I came across something, Dale, that kind of surprised me a little bit. I don't know if it was in your column or whether it was somewhere else, about how many baseball coaches USM has had. Was that you that said that?
No, but they hadn't had very many. I mean, just since I've been following them. They had Coach Taylor for a long time, Pete Taylor, who the field's named after. Then when he resigned or retired, Hill Denson came in, and then Corky Palmer followed him, and then Scott Berry followed him. And it's kind of like Hill Denson played for Coach Taylor, and Corky played for Coach Taylor, and Scott Berry, who's there now, didn't really play for him, but he coached many years with him at Meridian Junior College. And then when Corky went to Southern as an assistant under Hill, then Berry remained at Meridian and built them into a very good powerhouse in baseball.
What a great name for a baseball coach, Corky.
Corky.
I mean, well, anyway, let's switch gears and get back to the matter at hand with our guest tonight. Who you got lined up for us?
Was I supposed to line up the guest? I thought you were. Oh my goodness, what are we gonna do? No, I tell you what. I reached out to a New Orleans Saints writer. Mm-hmm. He writes for the Saints. He writes for USA Today, and it's called the Saints Wire, and you can follow him. And he's got insight into the draft, the practices. He watches practice. You know, and he's going to come up with some things that, I learned some things from him. Just because I learn things from you from time to time.
Well, you learned what not to say or do from me, probably.
Time to time. But I think he's going to be a great guest for us.
Well, we're looking forward to that. Dale and I are going to get down to the NFL draft Saints style. But first, a word from our sponsors, then we'll be back with tonight's guest right after the break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Okay, welcome to the show, John Sigler. How are you today? How's everything in New Orleans?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's a beautiful day. Had that rain come through. Jazz Fest first weekend, and we're rocking and rolling now. We're excited to talk some Saints football.
Yes, sir. Them Saints now, they're something. Well, let's get into last year for just a minute. Okay. Was quarterback the real issue last year? I mean, was that the biggest, I guess, negative about the Saints? Would they have done better with a quarterback?
I think they had one, and then he got hurt, and they just kind of cycled through some guys. You know, we had 4 different quarterbacks start games last year. We had Trevor Siemian get run for a while because Taysom Hill was hurt. Then Hill had to play, and we had that poor rookie Ian Book get shoved into the spotlight before he was ready, and it was just kind of a mess. So I think they're in a much better spot this year. They've got some better protection for Jameis Winston, so hopefully that'll keep him healthy, and hopefully we don't see anybody else. But if we do, they did sign Andy Dalton, and I think he's a much better backup than Trevor Siemian and even Taysom Hill might be. So I think they've got a better plan this year, a better depth chart at that position, and I think it's going to pay off in a good way.
Well, listen, going back to last year, too, I know I brought up the quarterback because that's always the position everybody talks about. But with Michael Thomas hurt most of the year, the Saints didn't seem like they could stretch the field as much as they have in the past at the receiver spot.
That was a real problem for them. Yeah, Michael Thomas, he led the National Football League in receptions just the year before. Forever. I mean, he set that record. And so when you use him, that everybody else on the depth chart, they've got to step up into roles that they are not really built for, and they struggled with that. You know, to their credit, we had some young guys like Marquez Callaway and Deontay Hardy that they really stepped up and played some good football for the Saints. But I don't think either one of those guys you want them starting on Sundays. You know, they need to be the third, fourth, or fifth guy on the depth chart. So I really like the way the team is built now. I think that was a big upgrade. Who they drafted, we'll get to him in a bit. But just getting Michael Thomas back healthy, getting him, buying into the plans that the Saints have, and having him be an asset for you rather than someone who's out for the whole for the season, that's going to be big. But to me, there were 2 really big injuries for the Saints, and he was one of them. And the other guy we missed him all year was Will Lutz, the kicker. The Saints, we had so many different kickers come and go through the season. You know, we couldn't make extra points, couldn't connect on these field goals that were, makeable field goals, from 30 or 40 yards. We really struggled with that. So you get Lutz back, that changes, your kicking game. You get Michael Thomas back, that changes the offense. To me, those are 2 really big pieces that the Saints are getting back, and I think it's right to be excited.
Well, now the defense played really, really well. I just remember recollecting that Tampa game where they defeated Tampa back down at Tampa. That was probably one of the best defensive showings I've seen in a long time against a quality
That's
team.
Right.
So what was the problem? Was there any really problems with the defense last year? Are they pretty solid and going into this year?
The only issue I see, the defense was the strength of the team last year, and that to be honest with you, the defense has been better than the offense these past couple of years. As we're moving out of the Drew Brees era and everything, the defense has been more consistent. The only problem I see with the defense is that we're going into the next season with 2 new safeties. Malcolm Jenkins retired, Marcus Williams left in free agency, so we got 2 new faces that have got to get up to speed there. And the defense is getting kind of old. Cameron Jordan, Demario Davis, they're both closer to the end of their careers than the start of it. Your best defensive tackle is David Onyemata. He's also getting older, and he's a free agent after this season. So if there's one problem I have with the defense is that it's getting a bit older, and I really question if the guys behind them are going to be ready to step up when it's their time. But hopefully that's a problem for another day. The defense does have a lot of very talented players coming back. They've got some good depth, and I think the defense is going to be something they can lean on again this season.
Well, that's a good report. So, what do you think the Saints really did? They get who they wanted in the first round? Would they rather have somebody else like a offensive lineman, or were they really geared toward picking a wide receiver? And do you really think, in your opinion, that they got the best wide receiver in the draft?
They do. Chris Olave out of Ohio State, he was my favorite receiver in this draft. Now, if everybody were healthy, he would probably be my number 2 because Jameson Williams out of Alabama was just a revelation this past season. But he does have the knee injury, and he got picked right after Olave because of that. But so, considering who was available, what the Saints need and everything, to me, picking Olave, moving up for him was a home run pick. Mickey Loomis spoke about this Saturday night when they were reviewing the draft, and he said, look, when you fall in love with a player like Chris Olave, like we did, you make moves to go get it. And that's what the Saints did in trading up for him. And to me, that was a dynamite pick. I'm very excited to see this guy play for the Saints. To me, he's the best route runner in this draft. He's sure-handed. He has hardly ever drops the football when you throw it to him. And to me, that's one of the two important things you have to do as a receiver is run a good route, catch a good pass. And I think that he excels in both of those areas. So you look at these scouting reports and you see things like, well, he doesn't block that hard, or he doesn't run after the catch as well as other guys, and that's okay. But man, I'll worry about what he does after the catch as long as he's winning before it. And if he's getting open and he's catching the ball when it's thrown to him, then I've got no complaints. So I think the Saints really liked that pick. They showed us they did by moving up for him the way they did, and I'm very excited to see him get on the field.
This is Marshall, John. Let's only follow up along that same line there with Olave. I mean, my understanding, and I defer to you, of course, is that this guy's really a deep threat. And, it seems like with Winston's abilities to go down the field, this may be a match made in heaven to be able to stretch this field pretty good. What do you think about that?
I think it really is. And so something I was looking at when I was looking at all these receivers is I went and looked at Jameis Winston's his charting, where we go through and you chart every pass that he throws, see how effective he is at different points on the field. One of his best throws is hitting a receiver, running out of the slot, running an out route towards the sideline. And that may be Chris Olave's best route. That may be his ace in the hole. He just does a fantastic job getting separation, getting himself open, where he doesn't have to be schemed open the way some of these other receivers have had to do for the Saints. And he can catch the ball when it's thrown to him there at depth, and he can make a play. And so if you look at it, you see, well Jameis says this is what Jameis does best. Olave does. This is his best route and his best pass, and to me, that really is a match made in heaven. I'm very excited to see these two work together.
Good deal. Thank you for that.
Well, so now,
Sure.
what about the big guy from Northern Iowa, the offensive lineman? Is he going to play a tackle, or is he quick enough to play tackle, or will he be moved inside, or what do you think his plans are for them?
Oh, he's going to compete at left tackle. That's where he played. That's where he lined up in college.
Okay.
Now, he was not my favorite tackle in the draft, and I don't know that he was for a lot of people because he does come from a lower level of competition. But his story too, he came onto campus weighing 230 pounds out of high school, so he had to put on 100 pounds of muscle over the last 4 years to get ready for that job. Yeah, and the crazy thing is, he went through all this testing at the combine, all the jumps and the drills and everything. If y'all are active on Twitter, a great follow is @MathBomb. And what this guy does is he takes all of these scores from running the 40-yard dash and the shuttle and the three-cone drill and all of these things, and he makes a score that adjusts for the height and weight of the player, and he calls it a relative athletic score. And this way, instead of just saying, oh, he has a good broad jump, you can say, okay, here's how he compares to the last 1,200 guards drafted in the NFL, and or tackles in this case. And Trevor Penning, the left tackle the Saints drafted out of Northern Iowa, he ranks number 6 out of 1,200 and something, 1,216, I think, since 1984 when they started doing all this. And so he is a tremendous athlete. But he has a lot to work on. He comes from a small program, so he has a lot to work on to get coached up with his technique and his specific assignments and everything. But to me, he landed in the best spot to maximize that. If you look at his coaching, the Saints hired Doug Marrone this year as their offensive line coach. That's a former NFL head coach, so that's pretty good if you can get a head coach working on one position like that. But his assistant is Zach Street. And if you look at Trevor Penning, he's 6'7" and 325 pounds. Zach Street is 6'6" and 330. So he's going to be able to say, hey, these are the things I had trouble with. Here's how I overcame that. And he can work every day. He can work this rookie and relate to the challenges he's facing when he's going up against these edge rushers that get up under him and say, here's how you counter that. And here's a move that you use to defend against that. And so I don't know that this rookie is going to start the first week of the season. The Saints have a good player in James Hurst, who he played more snaps left tackle than Teron Armstead did last year. So if the rookie is not ready, they have a fallback plan, and so I think that's the way to go. But if we're looking at this in the long term, I think this was the best spot for Penning, and I think he's going to be successful.
Well, tell us about the other 3 draft choices they have. They only had 5 total. Do you think that's too few to have? Should you be trading away all these futures just for now, or what is Mickey Loomis thinking down there?
They have the Saints, they have a very particular idea of what kind of player they want. They want someone who's a rare athlete, who was probably a team captain in college, or that went to one of these all-star games, so they can meet with them in more depth, get a better idea of what they're like. And every player they drafted, meets this criteria in some way, whether they have this relative athletic score over 9 or 8, or whether they were a team captain at Tennessee or wherever it may have been. Every one of these guys fits kind of the same mold, and so if the Saints, they make a short list of who they want, and they make moves to go get them. And that's one philosophy. The other is that you should get as many at bats as you can, and hopefully you'll hit a couple home runs. But if you're the Saints, you're really picking and choosing where you want to go, and so it's worked out for them so far. They've won. I think the Kansas City Chiefs are the only team that has won more games than the Saints since the 2017 season. So they have a strategy, and it's worked very well for them so far. Now, me selfishly, I want them to get as many players as they can. That's more work for me. So I would appreciate that. But just looking at who they got, what they can do, I think this was a pretty good draft. I graded it overall as a B, I believe. And just looking at the guys that they took in those later rounds, they got the cornerback out of Tennessee, Alontae Taylor. He's probably going to play a lot of special teams, and I know that's not what you want to hear about a second-round pick. You would hope that you get someone who can start there in the second round, but frankly, the Saints didn't have a whole lot of options at that point, so they got someone they know can play this year and can help them out. And special teams is something that does need work. No team allowed more punt return yards than the Saints did last year. So if this rookie can step in and help get them just down to league average in that area, then I think that's a good pick for now. So hopefully he develops and he'll be pushing for a starting job sooner rather than later. But just as an example, I think that's one way that this could be a win right now.
Well, what were some of their key losses, and what are going to be some of their key additions in free agency?
So they lost some very good players. That's been a problem. They lost Teron Armstead. He's been an all-pro left tackle for almost 10 years now. He's been phenomenal there at that spot. But the Miami Dolphins made him an offer he couldn't refuse, and credit to him for maxing out and getting the most money for him and his family there. So I hope he does really well. That's a big loss. And we saw the Saints respond to that by drafting a left tackle in the first round. They've got that veteran James Hurst. They gave him a new contract, and they've got a lot of guys behind them. So it's not like that's a big hole anymore. They've acted to check off that box. The other big loss was Marcus Williams at safety, and he's someone that you would really want to hold on to because he's someone that you drafted him, you developed him, and coached him up for the last 5 years, and that's someone you would hope to have for another 5 years. But especially when Dennis Allen was introduced, and they're saying, yeah, he's going to be big because Dennis Allen, he's going to maintain continuity for us. Well, Marcus Williams has played more snaps than anybody ever since the Saints drafted him. So that's a lot of that continuity just walked out the door. So that was a big problem. It took the Saints a while to work on it, but they're expecting to sign Tyrann Mathieu as a free agent here inside the next day or two. And to me, that's probably the best move you can make to address that. So they have some good players going out. They have some good ones coming in. Another guy to speak about at length was Marcus May, the former Jet safety, who was actually drafted before Marcus Williams back in 2017. The Saints got him. So between him and Matthew, that should be a pretty good pair to replace Williams and Malcolm Jenkins. So there's a lot of one-for-one moves here. The Saints lost somebody and they added somebody else. So hopefully the math checks out that good in training camp.
This is Marshall again. I think you might have said this already. I think you said you graded the Saints out of B on their draft. I'm just wondering, just in real general terms, where do you think they fit in the grand? All things considered in the draft. I mean, was everybody a B, or do you allocate them out that way? Where do you think they sit in the grand scheme of things? Middle of the road, top of the road?
I think they're probably middle of the road. I like this draft better than a lot of draft experts did. Just because a lot of people said, well, the Saints say they have to draft a quarterback in the year when there are not many good quarterbacks. So that's why their draft grade is not looking too hot if you look around. But relative to the league, I think this was probably average. There were some other players I like better than who the Saints got, to be frank about it. But you look at some of the teams that did best, and it's like, surprisingly, the New York Jets had a very good draft. They had that young quarterback, Zach Wilson. And they got him a lot of talent. They got the other really good Buckeyes receiver, Garrett Wilson. They got him. They got my favorite running back, Breece Hall out of Iowa State. He's coming in. He's going to help out that rookie a lot. And so they had the Jets of all possible teams had a very good draft. So good for them. And then the other team that I would say probably had the best draft would be the Baltimore Ravens, which that's not a surprise. That's all the Ravens do is draft good players. And they got the best safety in the draft, and Kyle Hamilton. They're going to put him with Marcus Williams, actually. And the two of them that's going to be a problem because the Saints have to play them in the Superdome this year. So that's going to be a pretty big game. So it was interesting to see it all play out. Yeah, a lot of teams got real trade happy, and they were moving around and not getting good players after all that moving around. Make of that what you will. But, just considering the hand that the Saints were dealt and what they did, I felt good about this draft, and I'm really eager to see the team come together here over the summer.
Yeah, you put all that together, that could turn out to be a pretty good year for them after all.
Well, listen, I know you're a Mississippi boy, and were you surprised that of anything that happened in Mississippi as far as the draft? Do you think Charlie Cross going as high as he did was a surprise, or were you not surprised?
No, I was not. If anything, I thought Charlie Cross was going higher. He was my favorite left tackle in this draft. He's the best pass protector in the draft, and a lot of that is due to the offense he played in with them throwing so much up in Stark Vegas. But that really worked out well for him as far as getting ready for the NFL. There's not a look he's going to see that he hasn't seen before. I thought he was going to the Carolina Panthers at number 6. I'm glad they didn't do that because I don't want to have to see him twice a year on another team. But he did really well for himself, and good for him. But as far as the prospects for Mississippi went, the thing that really surprised me was Matt Corral lasting as long as he did. They're deep into the third round, ending up with Carolina. Actually, poor guy. I thought that he was a pretty good prospect. I thought he was going to go a lot higher. I thought he should have. And then you're watching NFL Network and you're seeing, I believe it was Ian Rappaport said that Matt Corral would have gone a lot higher, but there were red flags of him struggling with depression in the past. And I'm like, who hasn't been depressed these last 3 years? How are you going to hold it? How are y'all going to hold this against this man for being stuck inside for 2 years? Come on. So I hate that it's in Carolina. I hate that we'll have to play against Matt Corral. But hopefully he does well. Hopefully he makes the Ole Miss fans you're proud. So I'm not among that number. I've got family who are, but I'm a Golden Eagles fan to the top. And
that's what I'm talking about right there, ladies and gentlemen. Golden Eagles, baby.
That's right.
Well, listen, John. On that happy note right there, on that Golden Eagle note, I'm like I said early on, I'm the guy that has to holler calf rope when our time's out. But listen, my friend, we sure do appreciate you taking time and being with us today and the knowledge and passion that you share your topics with. We're grateful for you. We appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate you having me on the show. It was a fun time. And hopefully we can circle back and see if the Saints did as well as we thought they would.
Hey, thank you again, John. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Well, guys, our time is gone, and we appreciate John being with us today, bringing us up to speed and all things Saints and around the NFL. And if you can hold on just a minute with us, John, we'll be back with you. But right now, we're going to take a break to hear from some of our sponsors, and Dale and I will be back with the final segment right after this word.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome back to the Brouhaha, everybody. Dale, our guest tonight, Mr. John, did a good job breaking it down for us on the draft and the Saints deal. I picked up something on there that I wasn't aware of, and that was about Tyrann Mathieu maybe coming back to the Saints. I'd missed that somewhere along the line. I've always been to spend a little time down there around Baton Rouge. Maybe.
I think he visited the Saints on Monday of this week.
Yeah.
And, I don't know him by his name. I didn't know his name. I always call him Honey Badger.
The Honey Badger.
Honey Badger, that's all I know.
Man, you got to love the Honey Badger. It's a pretty busy day for Mississippians in the NFL draft and with undrafted free agents. I like to say UDFAs. Man, that sounds like UDFAs. But anyway, Jackson State, the first name I came across was James Houston, the edge rusher that's gone to Detroit. Ole Miss, looking at what they had actually drafted and those that signed UDFAs, let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 I show going in the draft, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus one that you mentioned. That's 12 guys. Going to the next level. Is that a record for Ole Miss, you suppose?
I'm not sure, but that's
a lot.
No, that's a lot.
That's over half a team.
Yeah, I think that team that Archie graduated with had a bunch of guys because they had like 16 seniors starting that year, and I know they had a lot drafted that year. Of course, back then there were 17 rounds.
Yeah.
So these guys right here would have probably been drafted back in the day. So I was surprised, but we're talking about Matt Corral a while ago. And the thing about it is the Pickett boy from Pittsburgh that signed, that was drafted in the first round by the Steelers, he is guaranteed $14 million and $7 million signing bonus. And Corral, by going in the third round, only gets $5 million and $850,000 signing bonus. So he lost about $9 million because people talking about him negatively.
Yeah.
So I thought that was surprising, but I do know I looked up Charlie Cross's deal and where they have it budgeted in, and he's getting like a $12 million signing bonus.
That's $12 million up front. That's yours. Keep it.
Yep. And
that's a pretty good day.
He has to share it with his agent and IRS and probably state of Mississippi.
Yeah.
But I mean that's just But still, I would take the $12 million.
Let's just be clear.
Yeah.
If I was offering you $12 million, you'd take it.
I would take $1 million now, and I'd tell them when my career's over, send me $1 million a year for 11 years.
Well, I tell you what. How old are you, Dale? I like your optimism. I believe I'd want mine all right now.
Well, I don't think I'm gonna sign it at $12 million. I'm not 6'6" and 300 pounds and run a 4.84. Anything like that.
Oh. It's something that kind of sticks out to me. I'm going to hit you right here. We're talking about NFL. I'm going to talk about some mean guys. Historic. We're going to back out and look at a mean guy. You ever seen any guys that you just thought were mean and nasty playing the NFL? Anybody stick out in your mind as a mean guy?
Well, back in the day, I think everybody liked Dick Butkus of the Bears.
Oh, man. Yeah. He was a good one.
Oh,
he was a good one. I've got a list of some mean guys here.
Okay.
That I got off of the World Wide Web.
Okay.
And you know who they got at the top of the list? And I think he belongs there. A guy named Conrad Dobler. You remember Dobler?
Oh yeah.
Man, he played for the Chiefs, I believe, and he wound up down there with the Saints. And somebody asked him one day, said one of the players accused him of one of the defenders of biting his finger in a pile, and they asked Dobler after the game, "Did you bite his finger?" And he said, "Does he still have his finger?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, then I didn't bite it." He said, "I'd have bit it off." Conrad Dobler. Here's a couple that surprised me on this list. The number 9 most hated guy is Deion Sanders. Who'd have ever thought that?
I thought that would go probably back to showboating.
Well, I think it was. I think that's some of the things I read. Let's see. Here's another one. Johnny Manziel, number 5 on the list. I mean, bless old Johnny's heart. He couldn't get out of his own way once he got out of Texas A&M, could he?
Now, what's the title of your list?
Most hated NFL players of all time.
Most hated NFL.
Most hated. Conrad Dobler, Pac-Man Jones, Albert Hainsworth, Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler. Remember Cutler from Vanderbilt? He went up to the Bears. They said he was pouty.
Yeah.
And
you know what I remember about Cutler?
what?
Is his hometown was, I think it was Christmas, Indiana.
Christmas. Jay Cutler was from Christmas. What a great place to be from.
Christmas, Indiana.
Wow.
I didn't even know there was a Christmas, Indiana.
Well, I didn't either, but you know what, Dale? I'll never be able to say that again.
What is that?
That I didn't know there was a Christmas, Indiana.
Okay.
I might be able to say I forgot there was a Christmas, Indiana, but never again. Well, I'm in the loop now. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Dale, for all that you do for us and sharing a little business of information like stuff like that we can.
I want you to learn something every time I come to the show.
Well, I'm learning something, all right.
Huh?
I'm learning right now. It's time to go. We want everybody to encourage everybody to stay with us and listen to us on YouTube and on Facebook at the Brouhaha. We appreciate all of our sponsors. But you know, Dale, it's time to say goodbye.
Goodbye, Dale.
And Dale and I'll see you next week for more of the Brouhaha. Take us out of here, Jamie.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Dale McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.